Assalamualaikum everyone, this is me Anur Ahmed Chaudhary and welcome to Amir Physics Class. Today I am posting this video lecture because the chapter that was explaining in the previous class is remaining. Not too much, a little amount of chapter is remaining. So I'm going to cover that thing and also going to cover some new topics or new chapter inshallah. So let's not delay anyone, let's begin.
I would request everyone to please give the name of the chapter and the number of the chapter 2.02, and this is going to be the remaining part of the chapter 2.02. So you guys better write from the previous notes. So let's not delay and let's start. So the first thing that we are going to learn in the remaining part is that a fuse. Maybe I have taught in the previous chapters or in the previous videos about fuse. So let me say again that a fuse is an electrical appliance. A fuse is an electrical appliance which is made by a thin piece of metal wire. A fuse is an electrical appliance which is made by a thin piece of metal wire with a low melting point, which means that whenever there is a fixed amount of current or there is a fixed amount of current that can flow from a fuse. For example, a 3 ampere fuse the highest amount of current that the fuse can handle is 2 ampere or 3 ampere. If the amount of current is excess or it's greater than 3 ampere, the 3 ampere fuse will, the thin piece of metal by which the fuse is made is going to melt, as when there is going to be a excess amount of current flowing through the fuse, when there is going to be an excess amount of current flowing through the fuse, the thin piece of metal is going to get hot, and at the fixed temperature, the metal wire will just tear. The metal wire will tear. That's the melting point of the fuse. The exact temperature where the metal wire has teared by getting red hot, that's the melting point of that metal wire. A fuse can only take a certain amount of current. Whenever the current is going to flow in excess, whenever there is going to be an excess flow of current, the fuse will blow. The fuse will blow by melting its thin piece of metal wire. And there is a benefit of fuse is that the user won't get any electrical shock. If the fuse is fixed in the live wire, if there is an excess flow of current, and the fuse will burst. The fuse will burst or it will blow on. As a result, it will make the circuit incomplete. Which will in turn ensure that there is no flow of current in the circuit. As we already know that the incomplete circuit doesn't allow the current to flow through it. So, and the disadvantage of this order of a fuse is that there is going to be excess amount of current sometimes. So every time if there is an excess amount of current, the fuse will burst, and in that specific moment the circuit will remain incomplete until you put a new fuse in that circuit. The circuit will remain incomplete, but there is another appliance which has a name called circuit breaker. Another appliance named circuit breaker. It is also an electrical safety device designed to protect an electrical circuit from damage caused by an overcurrent or short current. It interrupts by making the circuit incomplete by turning off automatically. The thing that occurs in circuit breaker is that it turns off automatically whenever there is a flow of current. Whenever there is a excess flow of current, whenever there is an excess flow of current which is above the limit, we already know that the excess means the thing which is above the limit. When there is going to be an excess flow of current in the circuit breaker is going to turn off automatically. The circuit breaker is going to turn off automatically, making the circuit incomplete, which in turn ensures us that there is not going to be any flow of current. Now I would request you guys to write this definition or take an SS. Now I'm going to erase this thing and write circuit breaker. So now comes the point, circuit breaker. Circuit breaker, it is an electrical safety device. It is an electrical safety device designed to protect an electrical circuit from damage caused by short circuit / overflow of current. It interrupts by making the circuit incomplete by turning off automatically. So the thing just I explained, it is the same thing. It is saying that it is an electrical safety device. It is an electrical safety device designed to protect an electrical circuit, which means that it will protect an electrical circuit. Now, first of all you have to think is that what is circuit breaker? It is an electrical safety device designed to protect an electrical circuit. It is an electrical safety device designed to protect an electrical circuit. Now, from what it will protect? The next question comes that from what it will protect? From damage caused by short circuit or overflow of current. The thing which the term short circuit means that the overflow of current. Short circuit means overflow of current. Both are the same thing. Short circuit and overflow of current, both are the same thing. It interrupts by making the circuit incomplete by turning off automatically. Now comes the question that how does it makes the circuit safe? Now the final question comes that how does the circuit breaker makes a circuit safe? How does it save the circuit how does it make the circuit safe for an owner or for a user to use? So it interrupts by making the circuit incomplete by turning off automatically. It interrupts by making the circuit incomplete by turning off automatically. As I just explained that by turning off it incompletes by turning off automatically it incompletes the circuit. By turning off automatically it incompletes the circuit, which in turn ensures us that there is going to be no flow of electricity, as we know that a complete circuit allows current to flow through it, but an incomplete circuit does not allow any current to pass through it. And we know the reasons very specifically. We know the reason very specifically. So now let's see the answer of the question that how does the circuit breaker works. Circuit breaker interrupts the flow of electrical current. The circuit breaker interrupts the flow of electrical current. For those who don't understand my handwriting, I am extremely sorry. I am trying my best to make my handwriting good better from before, and it's alhamdulillah better than before the first time when I have written in the board, but it's getting better. Inshallah, it will be. So let's come to the point again. How does the circuit breaker works? The question has asked us that to explain. The question is asking us the reason, or the question is asking how does the circuit breaker works. Which means that the question is asking us to explain the procedure of a circuit breaker or the working process of a circuit breaker. How does the circuit breaker works? It means that the question is asking you or us to explain the working process of a circuit breaker. Now, we don't need to say that when we turn on electricity, gas, we just need to say the main thing. So, circuit breaker interrupts the flow of electrical current. Circuit breaker interrupts the flow of electrical current when it exceeds predetermined amount. Circuit breaker interrupts the flow of electrical current when it exceeds predetermined amount. For example, কোনো অ্যাপ্লায়েন্সের জন্য আমার 5 ampere of current লাগবে, এখন সেই 5 ampere বলে আমরা যাচ্ছি এখানে 7 ampere current. For example, an electrical appliance I have an electrical appliance for which I need 5 ampere of current. Before 5 ampere of current was traveling through the circuit, so the circuit breaker was on. But suddenly, due to some reason, there is 7 ampere of current going or passing through the circuit. So when the 7 ampere of current is going to pass through or it's going to come to the circuit breaker is going to turn off automatically. The circuit breaker is going to turn off automatically, which makes the circuit incomplete, which hence preventing a short circuit to occur. Here preventing a short circuit to occur. Circuit breaker interrupts interrupts the flow of electrical current. That's C-U-R-R-E-N-T, not C-U-R-R-E-N-T, it's C-U-R-R-E-N, current. When it exceeds predetermined amount, P-R-E-D-E-T-E-R-M-I-N-D, predetermined, মানে আগে থেকে নির্দিষ্ট করা অ্যামাউন্ট, আগে থেকে নির্দিষ্ট করা মূল্য ছাড়া, আগে থেকে নির্দিষ্ট করা মূল্য থেকে অধিক যখন কারেন্ট আমার পাস করতে চাই সার্কিট ব্রেকার দ্বারা, এই সার্কিট ব্রেকারটা নিজে নিজে বন্ধ হয়ে যায়। নিজে নিজে বন্ধ হয়ে যাওয়ার কারণে দিস মেক্স দ্য সার্কিট ইনকমপ্লিট, এটা সার্কিটটাকে ইনকমপ্লিট করে দেয়, অসম্পূর্ণ করে দেয়। যেহেতু সার্কিটটা অসম্পূর্ণ হয়ে যায়, তার মানে কারেন্ট আমার ফ্লো করতে পারছে না, কারেন্টটা আমার পাস করতে পারছে না, যার কারণে আমি অথবা আমার সেই সার্কিটটার মধ্যে একটা শর্ট সার্কিট ঘটে হলো না, শর্ট সার্কিট ঘটে হলো না। সো আমি যখন দেখবো যে 7 ampere অফ কারেন্ট যাচ্ছে, তো তখন আমি বলবো কি সার্কিট ব্রেকারটা অটোমেটিক্যালি অফ হয়ে যাবে। যখন দেখবো আবার যে the amount of current which I need is flowing in a normal way, then I will turn on the circuit breaker again. And if again there is an excess amount of flow in a circuit, the circuit breaker will turn off automatically, and this process continues until there is a normal flow of current. Circuit breaker interrupts the flow of electrical current. Circuit breaker interrupts the flow of electrical current when it exceeds predetermined amount. Circuit breaker interrupts the flow of electrical current when it exceeds predetermined amount. It switches off, making the circuit incomplete. It switches off, making the circuit incomplete, and here it's not near, it's not N-E-R-E, it's H-E-R-E. Here, preventing a short circuit to occur. Now see that I guess we know that what does AC means. AC means alternating current. It is easier to generate AC than one-way direct current DC of that type that flows from a battery. which means that it's easy to generate. It's easy to generate alternative current than to generate direct current. Let me say you something that how does the battery works? How does the battery works? First, there is an AC supply through our whole house. We are using AC supply. We are using alternative current for the light bulb. We are using alternative current for the fan. But our smartphones or mobile phones does not use the battery does not carry alternative current, for which we are using a charger. See, the charger here works as a converter. This charger takes the electrical AC current. This charger takes the electrical AC current and it transfers it to the battery in a DC form, which means that AC is getting transferred to DC. And then again from the battery the electrical energy that is releasing is AC. So AC is getting converted to DC, then DC again to AC. So that's how our mobile phone works. Or at least we can get power for our mobile phone. I would like to request you guys to take an SS or write it on your note copy. AC equals to alternating current, DC equals to direct current. It is easier to generate AC than one with direct current, DC, of the type that flows from a battery. Now let's come to the point that an oscilloscope. An oscilloscope is an instrument that graphically displays electrical signals and shows how those signals change over time. Oscilloscope is an instrument that graphically displays electrical signals and shows how those signals change over time. Difference between AC and DC using an oscilloscope. A DC voltage is steady and always in the same direction, and AC voltage rises to a peak, maximum falls to zero, changes direction and so many times every second. So let me write this thing. I hope you guys have taken an SS of the thing which I have written about circuit breaker. So now the thing I have written here is that oscilloscope is an instrument. Oscilloscope is an instrument that graphically displays electrical signals, and oscilloscope is an instrument that graphically displays electrical signals and show how those signals works. Oscilloscope is an electrical instrument that graphically displays electrical signals and show how those signals work. Difference between AC and DC using an oscilloscope. Difference between AC and DC using an oscilloscope. A DC voltage is steady. And always flows in the same direction, and AC voltage rises to a peak, and falls to zero, changes direction, rise and falls to zero, changes direction and so on many times every second. The now main thing here, I have said the difference between AC and DC using an oscilloscope. By using an oscilloscope and by giving DC voltage through it, we can see that the DC voltage or the DC current is steady. By steady means that it has no movement. It has literally no movement. It moves in the same direction. It doesn't show any kind of upward and downward movement. It moves in the same directions, and where in the AC current or AC current voltage or in AC voltage which rises to a peak means that it goes up and then falls zero, and again goes up and again falls to zero, and again goes up and again falls to zero. And this change in direction occurs, and these changes in direction occurs in AC many times. Every second, in every second, the AC current changes its direction many times. In every second, the direction of the AC current changes many times. That's all. And Alhamdulillah, we are done with this chapter. We are going to start a new chapter, inshallah. So I would like to request everyone to give the number of the chapter, chapter 2.12, chapter 2.12. So I'm not going to write anything on the board right now, but I'm just going to say a basic thing. Now, first of all, the thing we need to learn in this chapter is that what is an electrical charge? What is an electrical charge? Electrical charge is the basic unit. Electrical charge is the basic physical property of a matter. Electric charge is the basic physical property of a matter that causes it to experience a force when kept in an electric or magnetic field. Electric charge is the basic physical property of a matter. Electric charge is the basic physical property of a matter that causes it to experience a force when kept in an electric or magnetic field. As we know that there are three parts of an atom, which are proton, neutron, and electron. Proton and neutrons are found inside the nucleus of an atom, and the electrons are found on the orbit or electronic shell. Proton has a charge of +1 and electrons has a charge of -1, which is +1 and -1 respectively. The overall charge of an atom is neutral. The overall charge of an atom is neutral. So it's because there is an equal number of protons and an equal number of electrons. There is equal number of protons and equal number of electrons. So that each +1 charge cancels each -1 charge. So the overall charge of an atom is neutral. Until or unless if the atom loses an electron, until or unless if the atom loses an electron, the overall charge will be same. But if it loses one of its electron, the overall charge will be +1. And if the atom gains an electron, the overall charge will be -1. The overall charge will be -1. And if an atom gains an extra electron, the overall charge will be negative. But if an atom loses electron, the overall charge will be positive. An atom that becomes charged by gaining or losing electron is known as ion. So ion is an atom basically becomes charged by gaining or losing electrons. So I'm keeping it till today. আজকের জন্য এতটুকুই রাখছি ইনশাআল্লাহ, বাকিটুকু and we are going to see some things in the next class. So assalamu alaikum everyone.